All right, let's dive right in. We're about to take a 4,000-year trip through the history of weapons and armor. And as you'll see, these aren't just tools for fighting. They literally shaped our world, from winning battles to building entire civilizations. So let's get started.
Yeah, let's just start with this. This quote from the Battle of Waterloo. It's just brutal. Like grass before the mower's scythe. It really hits you, right? And that raw, devastating reality is exactly what's driven weapons innovation for, well, forever. It's this constant, relentless push to gain an advantage, and it's a stark reminder of the human cost.
Right, so we're talking about weapons that forged history. And that's because, there's so much more than just tools of war. I mean, sure, they're for fighting, but they're also these incredible works of art, they're huge status symbols, and honestly, they're the engines that have shaped history itself. Think about it. The rise and fall of empires, the success of revolutions, a lot of that comes down to the weapons they had.
And this helmet right here, it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. From the very beginning, arms and armor had to do two things at once. Yeah, they had to protect you, but they also had to project your power. This thing wasn't just about stopping a sword. Oh no, it was designed to make a statement. It was meant to look incredible, to scare your enemies, and to basically scream, I am rich and I am important.
Okay, so our first stop is what we'll call the Age of Muscle. For thousands of years, combat was all about human strength. It was really just an extension of the body. You had two basic kinds of weapons, right? You had your percussion weapons, things like clubs and swords for getting up close and personal, and then you had your missile weapons, like spears and arrows, for hitting someone from a distance.
And this really shows you the two sides of that coin. On the left, you've got this gnarly-looking battle axe. It's pure, brutal function. It has one job and it does it well. But then, on the right, look at that sword hilt. It's an Italian Renaissance piece. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a deadly weapon for sure, but it's also a piece of high art. It's a status symbol that says, I'm a man of taste who can also kill you.
Now, when it came to missile weapons, there was one piece of tech that was a total game changer, the composite bow. And look, this thing was so much more than just a bent stick with a string. It was a masterpiece of early engineering. They'd layered different materials, wood, bone, sinew, all glued together. The result? A bow that was way more powerful, had longer range, and could punch through things a simple bow couldn't even touch. It was a huge technological leap.
So, what was the peak of this age of muscle? You're looking at it, the fully armored medieval knight. This guy was basically a walking fortress, covered from head to toe in interlocking steel plates. He was the tank of the medieval battlefield. Can you imagine seeing one of these coming at you? You'd think he was completely invincible. Your sword, your little bow, pretty much useless.
So that begs a pretty big question, right? If you're just a regular soldier on foot, and you see this walking steel fortress coming your way, what do you even do? How does technology solve a problem like the knight?
Well, the answer brings us to our next era, the age of mechanics. This is where human ingenuity, clever machines, and smart engineering starts to level the playing field. It's where brute strength and fancy, expensive armor start to become less important.
And this was the answer, the crossbow. This weapon was a complete game changer. Why? Because you could give it to almost any soldier with just a little training, and they could fire a bolt that could punch right through a knight's expensive armor. And think about what that means. This isn't just a new tactic, it's a social revolution. All of a sudden, a simple farmer could take down a nobleman from a distance. It completely upended the old power structures. It was a true equalizer.
So how'd it work? The secret was all about mechanical advantage. See, instead of relying on the archer's own muscle power, the crossbow used things like cranks and levers to draw back a super powerful bow. All that massive energy was just stored, waiting. And all you had to do was pull a simple trigger to release it. Now, it did have one big downside. It was way slower to reload than a traditional longbow.
But as big a deal as the crossbow was, it was about to be completely overshadowed by the single biggest shift in the history of war. We've arrived at the age of chemistry. Yep, we're talking about gunpowder. When it arrived from China, it didn't just change the weapons, it changed everything. Tactics, how you build castles, even the way armies were organized. It was a total revolution.
It's funny. The gunpowder age didn't exactly start with a bang. It was more of a fizzle. These first personal firearms, like this wheel-lock pistol, were just ridiculously complicated. They were super expensive, and honestly, they misfired all the time. They were more of a flashy toy for rich guys than a serious weapon for the battlefield.
But of course, technology never stands still. Eventually, the flintlock mechanism came along. It was simpler, cheaper, and way more reliable. And that's what made mass-produced guns a real possibility. This is what led to those famous line infantry tactics you see in movies, rows of soldiers firing devastating volleys in unison. That became the defining image of warfare for a long, long time.
All right, what was the next huge leap? The self-contained cartridge. This was brilliant. They took the bullet, the gunpowder, and the primer and put them all together in one single brass casing. What did that do? It made reloading incredibly fast and super reliable. And this one little innovation opened the door for repeating rifles, which just massively increased how many shots a single soldier could fire.
And where does this road lead? Well, it leads to the 20th century and the perfection of fully automatic weapons, like the submachine gun. Suddenly, the kind of firepower that used to require a whole team of guys to operate a heavy machine gun could be held in the hands of one person. The age of chemistry had truly reached its awesome and, frankly, terrifying peak.
So after all that, where are we today? This brings us to what you might call the enduring soldier. And what's so fascinating is that the modern soldier isn't just a product of one era. No, they're actually a combination of all three ages we've just talked about. They carry a bit of each one with them.
And that's not just some nice-sounding idea, it's literally true. If you look closely at what a soldier carries today, you'll see direct links back to the ancient world. It just goes to show you that some ideas in combat, they never really go out of style.
I mean, just take the spear. For thousands of years, it was the main weapon for infantry back in the age of muscle. And today, look at the end of a modern rifle, the bayonet. It's a direct descendant. It's a powerful reminder that even now, in an age of drones and guided missiles, sometimes you still need a simple, pointed stick.
So, we've walked through the age of muscle, the age of mechanics, and the age of chemistry. 4,000 years of history. And it all leaves us with one last big question to chew on. As we head into a new age, an age of AI, drones, and cyber warfare, what do you think is going to shape the weapons of tomorrow?